principles, here's number one. People are important, each and every one. That means you and that means me. And people everywhere. 'Cause these are the things that make us who we are. Unitarian principles, here's number two. Treat people kindly and treat them fairly too. Be kind and care a lot in everything you do. 'Cause these are the things that make us who we are. Unitarian principles, here's number three. This is an accepting place where everyone is free to grow in spirit and in heart. And open mind's the key. 'Cause these are the things that make us who we are. Unitarian principles, here's number four. Keep searching for meaning and truth forevermore. There is no creed, I grow my own. He grows along with me. 'Cause these are the things that make us who we are. Unitarian principles, here's number five. Listen to your conscience when actions you decide. Democracy's the way the free people are in charge. 'Cause these are the things that make us who we are. Unitarian principles, here's number six. If we work together, there's a lot that we can fix. Our goal is world community with peace for everyone. 'Cause these are the things that make us who we are. Unitarian principles, here's number seven. Respect the web of life in which we all live. We're all connected. You can't just do one thing. 'Cause these are the things that make us who we are.
Welcome, my friends, to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Hillsborough online worship service. My name is Dave Yelton, and I'm your host today, this third Sunday in March 2021. I would like to thank our guest presenters today, Crystal Cavalier and Jason Campus Keck, our producer, Wendy Calvin, our musical director, Aviva Enoch, our reader for today, Pam Dickens, and also the many wonderful singers who will be featured throughout the service. Most of all, I would like to thank all of you for joining us in worship today. As a congregation, we are committed to supporting social justice and social equity in our community. An important part of that support comes in the form of our weekly donations, which is separate and apart from our yearly operating budget pledge campaign. So each week, we invite you to contribute to our special Share the Plate offering, which we then share with our local partner in this vital ongoing community work. Our community partner this month is Orange County Justice United. So please give generously online as shown on the screen. We thank you, and the community thanks you. Now let's prepare ourselves for worship together by reminding ourselves of who we are and why we gather. We are a community of liberal, open-minded people who strive to connect with one another with love. Our physical home is located at 1710 Old Highway 10 at the corner of Lawrence Road. But our spiritual community stretches far and wide with friends and loved ones who join us from all over the state and throughout the country to engage in our Sunday morning worship online. We are a people defined by covenant, not by creed. That means that we are committed to a way of being with and supporting one another, rather than to a traditional statement of common belief. To that end, we support each other in our individual spiritual growth and deepening of faith. We challenge one another to find more love, both within ourselves and in the world. And today, we welcome you with open arms to our online house of worship.
Like the First Hint of Green by Jennifer McLaughlin. As the first hint of green begins to peek through the barren ground, as a little sprig grows into a healthy stem, as that stem grows into a stalk and forms a bud, as that bud slowly opens with each new day to form a yellow daffodil. Let us be like that first hint of green, renewed by the warmth of the sun's rays, and ready to emerge with a new energy, ready to face the day and a new season. We light this chalice to bring a glimmer of that warmth into our hearts.
O great spirit of the north, invisible spirit of the air and of the fresh, cool winds. O vast and beautiful grandfather sky, our living breath animates all life. Yours is the power of clarity and strength, power to hear the inner sounds, to sweep out the old patterns, and to bring change and challenge the ecstasy of movement and the dance. We pray that we may be aligned with you so that your powers may flow through us and be expressed by us for the good of this planet and all living beings upon it. O great spirit of the South, protector of the fruitful land and of all green and growing things, the noble trees and grasses, grandmother earth, the soul of nature, great power of the receptive, of nurturance and endurance, power to grow and bring forth flowers of the field and fruits of the garden. We pray that we may be aligned with you so that your powers may flow through us and be expressed by us for the good of this planet Earth and all living beings upon it. O great spirit of the East, radiance of the rising sun, spirit of new beginnings, O grandfather fire, great nuclear fire of the sun, power of live energy, vital spark, power to see far and to imagine with boldness, power to purify our senses, our hearts, and our minds. We pray that we may be aligned with you so that your powers may flow through us and be expressed by us for the good of this planet Earth and all living things upon it. O great spirit of the West, spirit of the great waters, of rain, rivers, lakes, and springs, O grandmother ocean, deep matrix, womb of all life, power of dissolve boundaries, to release holdings, power to taste and to feel, to cleanse and to heal, great blissful darkness of peace. We pray that we may be aligned with you so that your powers may flow through us and be expressed by us for the good of this planet and all living beings upon it.
Hi everyone, my name's Emily, and today I'm going to be reading to you guys We Are Water's Protectors, written by Carol Lindstrom and illustrated by Michaela Goad. We are water protectors. Water is the first medicine, Nakomi's told me. We come from water. It nourished us inside our mother's body, as it nourishes us here on Mother Earth. Water is sacred, she said. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. The river's rhythm runs through my veins, runs through my people's veins. My people talk of a black snake that will destroy the land, spoil the water, poison plants and animals, wreck everything in its path. When my people first spoke of the black snake, they foretold that it wouldn't come for many, many years. Now the black snake is here. Its venom burns the land, courses through the water, making it unfit to drink. Take courage. I must keep the black snake away from my village's water. I must rally my people together. To stand for the water, to stand for the land, to stand as one against the black snake. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. It will not be easy. We fight for those who cannot fight for themselves, the winged ones, the crawling ones, the four-legged, the two-legged, the plants, trees, rivers, lakes, the earth. We are all related. Tears like waterfalls stream down, tracks down my face, tracks down my people's faces. Water has its own spirit, Nokomi's told me. Water is alive. Water remembers our ancestors who came before us, she said. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. We are stewards of the earth. Our spirits have not been broken. We are water protectors. We stand. The black snake is in for the fight of its life.
Ours is a welcoming community where we find connection, a sharing community where our joys are celebrated, and a caring community where our sorrows are lessened. Each Sunday we take a moment to share and reflect on the special happenings that have occurred this week in our lives. For those of you who would like to share in the comments or the chat, please do so. And know that everything shared aloud or felt in silence is held dearly in the heart of this community.
Anticipated Spring by Reverend Teresa Cooley. In this time of anticipated spring, let us allow ourselves to extend the anticipation, to value the time of budding before blooming, of seeding before sprouting. This is a time of revelation, the revealing of that which is eternal, which we see every year, but still need to be reminded to see it in a new way. There's also the revelation of that which is new. Every spring, we encounter something that never before seen. It is that very newness which embodies hope and potential for the wholeness which is yet to be. Let us allow spring to unfold slowly, that we may appreciate the true mystery of rebirth and renewal.
My blood uprise in the roots of yon oak, her sceptre thrown in my veins. Boundless my soul like the open sky, where the stars forever have lain. Where the stars,
Mikuruminchin Kyohei, Naha Pipise, Mima Crystal, Mima Okanichi Saponi, Mima Mebin, Watiwa.
Halito, Chim, Achukma, Yakuke. Hello, hope you're good, and thank you for coming.
So, my name is Crystal Cavalier. I just gave you guys a traditional Tutulo greeting. And I want to talk to you guys today about the spring equinox. So, spring represents a time of rebirth where warmth returns, flowers bloom, animals come out of hibernation to greet the new year. And this is a new year, and even today we are reminded that spring marks renewal, and we look forward to the good tidings ahead. So, the seasons also coincide with a lot of traditions and beliefs. And the arrival of this warm weather signals the return of animals and plants. This is time for us to plant, beautiful greens start growing. Tribes start to recognize this time of year as a time to gather and confer with one another and make decisions that affect the community as a whole. And for our ancestors, these gatherings decided who got to go where and how adverse tribes were to be handled and what new resources were to be available. So we're coming out of this time of winter, where everything was in hibernation. We were very still, just praying that we make it to the new year, and we have made it to this new spring equinox. And I'm going to turn it over to Jason.
So I've been asked to tell a story of commitment. I just want to say that spring represents the East in my traditions, and and the new beginning. East is the new beginnings. And we're coming out of the north, which was the winter. And the winter was a time for storytelling, a time for sitting around fire. So I'm going to attempt to tell this story, even though there's no fire. And I'm looking at this technological equipment here. So I'm out of my element, and I'm still going to try to attempt to give you this story and have you understand how commitments show up in our culture. So there was a young couple, and male and female, and they had developed a relationship, and at one point they looked into each other's eyes, and their hearts spoke and their spirits spoke, and they made a commitment. They wanted to be married. So they came back to the village and they brought the news to the families, and the families were excited. They were ecstatic. Immediately, the aunties of the female began celebration planning, preparation, and the family of the male began creating the dowry. And then once the family accepted the dowry, everybody in the community began celebration plans, and the female went into the home, began building a home lodge that they would share together, and then at some point, so in our culture we have these relationships. If I was to speak it in the language of the Lakota, they have a word. It's called kola. And so a kola nowadays means anybody you might have. And female have another word, it's mushke. Mushke. So mushke, girl, two women that are best friends, they are mushkes. And two males that are best friends, they are kola. But in the original understanding of this word, it meant someone that was created just like you. He liked the things you like to do. So at one point, this young man's kola comes up to him and he says, "I'm really happy for you. I think you've picked very wisely. You're going to be so happy and bring so much to the community." He said, "But we won't get to do the things that we used to do. We won't get to go swim and dive off the rock. We won't get to go, we won't get to go get any ponies, pony wrestling. We won't get to play the games that we used to play." And he said, "So how about before the ceremony, we just go on one last pony wrestle? Just one more time for old time's sake." And so this young man, he says yes. So they get some of their other buddies and they go off, and they didn't realize, this is going to be the last one. So they traveled far, and at some point they come upon an adversary, somebody looked different than them they'd never seen before. And the skirmish and the battle, this young man loses his life. And so his kola has to carry him back on the horse with the other friends. And he sends a runner back to the village to report what has happened. And so when the runner comes to the village, he says, the young man is dead. And so the auntie goes into the home lodge that's been built by this woman, and they were getting the buckskin dress sewn for the ceremony, and the auntie comes in and tells her the news that the young man has been killed, and she doesn't say a word. She just continues sewing her buckskin dress. So the auntie comes out, and the community asks, "What did she say?" She says, "She didn't say anything. I don't know. Maybe she didn't hear me." So another auntie goes in and says, "Do you understand that your partner has been killed?" She still didn't speak. So the other auntie comes out the home lodge and says, "I don't know, maybe she's in shock." And so, they decide to give her some time. After a while, the young woman appears from the lodge, and she is all adorned in her white buckskin dress for the ceremony. She doesn't say anything. She doesn't even look at the people. She just walks to the edge of the bluff. This village was on a cliffside of a hill, a mountain, and she walks to the bluff. She looks back at the village, puts her back to the cliffside. She begins to sing a song. In those days, we would call it her death song. Nowadays, we call it, a journey song. Way-ah, hey-ah, way-ah, hey-ah, hey-ah, ya, hey-ah. Way-ah, ya, hey-ah. Way-ah, yahoo, way-ah, ya, hey-ah. Way-ah, yahoo, way-ah, ya, hey-ah. We-cha, shala-wa. Tewa helaku, wangli gaki tau sheyaku. Hey ya ya hey ya. And she falls back to her death. And in the words of the song, she said, "Me and this man have made a commitment to each other. Our hearts and our spirits have collided as one. And he needs me now. I must go to him." And, when the elders and the grandmas and grandpas used to tell these stories, that was the story. That was it. When we tell it to the children now, we would say, as she fell, the village came, looked over the cliffside. They didn't see anything. And then they saw a small white dove come up to about the level that she jumped. And then when it got to that level, aligned with their eyesight, turned into a white hawk, and then began to go above their head. And when it got to where they had to look up, turned into a white eagle. And then as it flew, that white eagle, to the clouds, just as it disappeared into the clouds, turned into that white thunderbird, that giver of life that brings the rains. And we just tell that to the children so they understand that her spirit met his spirit in the sky world. But this is a story of the commitment of two people, and that's how we held commitments, not just between a man and a wife, just like the commitment between the two kola, or commitment between two mushkes, two best friends, the commitment between parents and children, the commitments between children and grandparents, the commitments between neighbors. And so at this time, this springtime, this solstice time, we start thinking about those commitments. And it's different than the New Year's, the dominant culture New Year's, where we talk about resolutions, and I'm going to go on a diet, and I'm going to exercise, and I'm going to quit this. We wouldn't talk about those commitments. We're talking about commitments of the spirit. Commitments to do what you're called to do. Commitments to maintain the values you believe in. Commitments to follow your passions, your dreams, your pursuits in a good way. And so that'll be the last story for the season, right? We're going into spring where we can do active things now. And then when we return in the winter season, we'll start telling stories again. So thank you for having us. And
thank you so much. And so as we wrap up, just know that this northern hemisphere, this equinox means warmer weather and longer days. And I welcome you to our first official day of spring. So, Alewa.
Yakoki.
We extinguish this flame, but not the spark of joy in our worship, or the fire of commitment, or the warmth of community. Blessed be, my friends, until we meet again. To my loved ones and relations, with me in spirit every day, to neighbors I have not yet met, close to home and far away. Be safe, be well, you mean the world to me. Be safe, be well, you mean the world to me. To my friends who make good music, sharing joy both far and wide, and to those who we depend on to teach, to heal and guide. Be safe, be well, you mean the world to me. Be safe, be well, you mean the world to me. And to all who hear this message, to strangers and to friends, here's an embrace of music until we meet again. Be safe, be well, you mean the world to me. Be safe, be well, you mean the world to me. Come on now, be safe, wash your hands, you mean the world to me. Be safe, wear your mask, you mean the world